So I found this article over the weekend from Politico. It's titled Fed Explores the Once in a Century Bid to Remake the US Dollar. So as we're watching this Euro USD trade and we see how this next bar closes, I'm going to keep it open right here on the right side so you guys can kind of peek at that. I want to read through this with you because I think it's really, really important, especially just these first two paragraphs. It says the Federal Reserve is taking what may be the first significant step towards launching its own virtual currency, a move that could shake up the banks and give millions of low-income Americans access to the financial system to fortify the dollar's status as the world reserve currency. So right there, what that means to me is that people who push Bitcoin as an alternative to traditional banking, because with traditional banking, there's people without internet and without access to banks, so they can't even get into the system, the banking system. The Fed is going to use this digital dollar to get those people into the system. So they're kind of counteracting one of the pros that the Bitcoin guys always throw at us as being like the pro of Bitcoin. The Fed says we can do that too. So that's the first takeaway right there. Let's keep going. The idea of creating a fully digital version of the US dollar, which was unthinkable just a few years ago, has gained bipartisan interest from lawmakers as diverse as Elizabeth Warren and Republican from Louisiana, John Kennedy, because of its potential benefits for consumers who don't have bank accounts. But it also sparks strong pullback from those with the most to lose, which is the banks. The United States should not implement a central bank digital currency simply because we can or because others are doing so, the American Bankers Association said. The American Bankers Association, that's a funny group to be in. The benefits are theoretical, difficult to measure, and may be elusive. What would you expect them to say? While the negative consequences could be severe, the whole group wrote. What are the negative consequences? I want to know. The explosive rise of private cryptocurrencies in recent years motivated the Fed to start considering the digital dollar being used alongside the traditional paper dollar. The biggest driver of concern was the Facebook-led effort in 2019 to build a global payments network using crypto technology. Though that effort is now much more narrow, it demonstrated how the private sector could, in theory, create a massive currency system outside of government control. And the government does not want that to happen. Now, central banks around the world have begun exploring the idea of issuing their own currency, almost like beating Facebook to it, beating the private sector to it. This would be a fiat version of a cryptocurrency that would operate more like physical cash. So it's really just digital cash, which is kind of like what we already have. Everybody's using cards. I talked about this last week. So they're just trying to shift the type of currency that we use and back it by the US dollar, of course. That could provide unwelcome competition for banks by giving depositors another safe place to put their money. That's the issue here. And I think that's why you're going to see JP Morgan and a lot of other banks try to issue their own digital currency too. Mark my words, Bank of America is working on it. A person or a business could keep their digital dollars in a virtual wallet and then transfer them directly to someone else without needing to use a bank account. Even if the wallet were operated by a bank, the firm wouldn't be able to lend out the cash. But unlike other crypto assets like Bitcoin or Ether, it would be directly backed and controlled by the central bank, allowing the monetary authorities to use it like any other form of the dollar in its policies to guide interest rates. There's just a lot that they can do here. They could even change your savings rate with this digital dollar based on arbitrary means. For example, if you have a ton of money in the digital dollar, they might lower your interest rate to save with them. But if you don't have a lot of money, maybe they give you an introductory 20% interest on your savings. If you are under $10,000, they're going to pay you 20% in interest, right? Something like that where they can customize interest rates individually. That's another idea that I've heard about and thought about. Let's just keep going a little bit more here. But it will unlikely be up to Congress to ultimately decide whether the central bank should formally pursue such a project, as Fed Chair Jerome Powell has acknowledged. So again, it will be up to Congress to decide if this is going to be allowed. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are intrigued, particularly as they eye China's efforts to build its own central bank digital currency, the digital yuan, as well as the rise of cryptocurrencies elsewhere, both of which could diminish the dollar's influence. Democrats have especially been skeptical about crypto assets because there are fewer consumer protections and the cryptocurrencies can be used for illicit activity. We talked about that last week. It's like less than 5% of all cryptocurrency stuff is used for illegitimate activities. So the article goes on and on and on talking about the potential ramifications of this digital dollar. But what I take away from this whole idea, and I want to know what you guys think, but what I take away from this is that China is a model for the rest of the world in a lot of ways. They are becoming the number one country in the world, whether it's militarily, economically. They are becoming kind of like the new center of the world. And our Fed is looking at them and saying, okay, if they're going to implement a digital dollar, we need to potentially do it. And China's already tried this. They're doing it in different provinces and different cities all over their country. So they're already ahead of the game here. And I think what most likely will happen is, if we are following in China's footsteps in that regard by going down this path of a digital dollar, wouldn't it be logical? I'm just going off logic here. Wouldn't it be logical to say that we will also potentially ban Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, just like China? Once the Fed is ready to roll out their digital dollar, why would they want competition? Why would they allow competition? They won't. It'll move to a black market, but they won't allow it. And I could easily see at the same time as the digital dollar comes out, they ban Bitcoin at the same time, all in one swoop. Or they tax it very high. They create its own class of assets or investments, and they put it in there and they try to tax it. But I want to know what you guys think. I'm going to put the link to this article in the description if you're watching the replay of this video, if you want to continue reading it. I'll put the link right now in the live chat, so you guys that are watching live, you guys can go check this out too. But do you think the Fed is going to get away with this and that they're going to unveil the digital dollar soon? Or do you think they're going to face a lot of pushback from Congress and they're not going to be able to get this passed and it's going to stay like this traditional cash system forever? Personally, I don't see that as being the outcome. Everything is going technological. Everything is changing in this digital age, and it's only a matter of time. Are they going to be late or are they coming now? Is my thoughts on the Fed digital dollar. So hit me in the comments. Let me know what